I went from struggling to close deals and getting stuck on objections to consistently making over $50,000 a month as a high-ticket closer, simply by following the 3 exact principles I'm about to share with you in this video. And if you skip even one of these steps, you'll end up like every other rep who's struggling to break past 10K a month. Let's get into it. The first principle is something no one talks about, but it's the exact reason why some closers will barely scrape by while others consistently clear past 50K a month. And it's knowing your data, because if you want real results, you have to treat your sales like a science. So what that means is reverse engineering your monthly goal down into daily inputs. And the reason why this is so important is because without doing this, you're ultimately just reacting on whatever happens that month. You start relying on hopium rather than having a formula on how you're genuinely going to hit the commissions you want to make. A lot of reps think it's luck, the fact that they're not hitting 10 to 20K a month, when in reality, it's just that you can't scale what you can't track. So if you understand that you're behind on pace for appointments, you need to go out there and do your own outbound. If you don't even realize that you're behind pace and you're just flying blind, you let the month take you where it wants instead of you taking the month where you want. And on top of that, here are 3 powerful shifts you can start implementing in your daily routine. And if you stick to them, your results as a sales rep are going to skyrocket. The first step is understanding why you're doing what you're doing. Now, a lot of people think this is just some cheesy thing, but when in reality, if you're waking up and you're taking sales calls for 10 hours a day, it's going to be very difficult, especially if you're working 6-7 days a week like I was. On top of this, it also will tie into the data that I just mentioned to you before. So for me personally, I wanted to have freedom for my family, and I wanted to prove to everyone that I'm not just a failed college dropout. So that was my clear why. I knew that that was the thing that I was chasing at the time. The next thing you want to do is set a clear what. So this is, all right, what cash collected do I want to get by the end of the month that will equate this in commissions that will help satisfy my why goal? So for easy number's sake, let's just take $100,000 cash collected in a month. Now I break it down. How much cash collection do I get on average per deal closed? Let's say I get 5,000. Then it's how many deals do I need to close in a given month to be able to satisfy that 100,000? Now, once I have my amount of deals I need to close, how many calls scheduled do I need to be able to get this done? So let's say now I broke it down to the fact that, all right, I need 200 strategy calls booked to my calendar every single month if I want to hit 100K. So now all you do is divide 200 by 30 if you're working 7 days a week, and that's how many calls you need to take a day. Now this is where the how comes in, because a lot of reps will make this based on their current skill set and not the skill set that they're going to be at, because usually they're getting some form of advanced training. So let's say my close rate as this closer, pretty average 20%, but I know that I'm joining a training group where all the guys are averaging 40%. I'm going to start shifting my how and shifting my close rate up towards that 40% in line with what I feel like I'm going to be closing at in a few months after getting more advanced training. The same thing goes for other metrics like show rate, average cash collected per deal, the list goes on. And through this, you want to compare yourself to the pace you're hitting per week. So you should understand, all right, I need to collect 25,000 per week. This is XYZ amount of calls, XYZ amount of closed deals. Am I on pace for that? No. Now the how shifts a bit. Maybe you have to do some upsells. Maybe you have to do some cross sells, some renewals. This is where, if you notice, you're starting to get proactive about your income. And it's not just, oh, let's see what I hit this month. We all know that feeling, and it's never fun. Understanding your data and reverse engineering it, most importantly, is one of the most powerful tools that you can use as a sales rep. But this next step is the biggest problem even for the most experienced closers I know, and it's pre-handling objections. The real reason why prospects say I need to think about it has really nothing to do with your pitch whatsoever, because they're not pushing back against you, they're pushing back against their own past. Some sales reps don't know this. They just look for the next shiny object on how do I handle objections better, with no reality on the fact that they don't have to come up every single call. Now, this isn't to say that objections are never going to happen. That's not the case. Now, Tony Robbins talks about it all the time. If I took a kid and I told him to shut up repeatedly, you know, he's 8 years old, he's going to school, I continuously tell him, hey, shut up, stop talking. Because of the experiences that this kid is getting at such a young age, it's going to shape the way he starts making decisions in the future. Meaning when that kid grows up to be 18, 19, 20 years old, he's probably going to be an introvert and probably not talk. Now, the way to not handle this kid is to have a therapist go to him and say, why aren't you talking? Why aren't you talking? Why aren't you talking? Because you're just going to get them angry. They're going to shut down. They're going to get resistant. But if the therapist took the approach of looking at his past, see what kind of experiences shaped them being an introvert, and then reframed those experiences, they would probably be able to get over the limiting belief. The same thing goes with sales. These prospects want to think about it for a variety of reasons. They've been burned in the past. They always thought they could figure it out by themselves. Money stopped them, time stopped them, the list goes on. So if we can uncover the experiences that shape this decision-making process, even though they've known they've had a problem, then where does the objection actually come from? Nowhere, because it's handled in the beginning. And if it isn't, then all it takes is a little bit of fear loops at the very end and you got them. If you do not uncover and resolve objections before they come up, you are done. This prospect is going to continue to feed into their limiting beliefs and not buy from you. And that's why people confuse objections with being so difficult, even though you just haven't been following the right process from the beginning. Now I'm going to show you how to spot these objections before they even come up so you can handle them early and stop letting them take control of the outcomes of your calls. The number one question that you want to ask right in the beginning is, what have you tried in the past to solve XYZ problem so you can get to desired state? For a lot of the prospects you speak to, it's probably probably going to be nothing besides some free YouTube videos, some books, something like that. To the point where you want to ask them, all right, what prevented you? This is where the objection will come up. The three things you're gonna hear here: money stopped me, I didn't have the time for it, or some form of excuse. At this point, if this is not addressed, this is the objection at the end of the call. The route that I like to take is to switch them from scarcity to an abundance mindset regarding whatever the excuse is. So if it's time and they say, I didn't have the time to commit to this in the past, the immediate thing I'll say is, all right, well, is it more about the time you have, or is it about the time you make for the things that are priority to get you where you wanna go? Well, yeah, it's the time I make. Why do you feel that way? Because if I continue to not let it do anything, I'm just gonna be in the same spot. Perfect, so we see him in alignment there. What do you feel like prevented you from making the time? Now at this point, I'm breaking through the smokescreen objections and I'm finding the limiting belief under it. Because a common answer I'm gonna get here is, oh yeah, I thought I could just do it on my own. So if we notice, the top layer objection, which you'll get at the end, is time. Now the underlying belief beyond that is gonna be the fact that they thought they could figure it out by themselves. Now I'm uncovering this in the first 15 minutes of the call, which means that I can handle it a lot better than if $8,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 was on the line at the end of the call. So what I'm gonna say is make them reflect on their way of thinking. Well, can you see how that way of thinking where you've let time stop you has been the exact reason why you're on the call with me, lacking time to spend time with your family? Because what have you lost because you've been thinking that way? And what if you continue to think that way? And how committed are you to getting over that way of thinking so you can finally get where you wanna go? That sequence right there does everything you need to uncover the objection and overcome it. Dealing with objections is extremely tough, I'm not going to lie to you. It's frustrating, it's something every sales rep deals with, even the most experienced ones I know. But I've helped hundreds of reps increase their close rate, increase their commissions by teaching them the exact strategy I just showed you to diffuse objections before they even come up. So if you're serious about becoming a top performer in high ticket sales, click the first link in the description and I'll see you there. And even if you can't handle objections like a pro, there's still a ceiling on how much you can earn unless you follow the third step I'm about to lay out right here. Finding the best offers. I've seen so much wasted potential, not because people lack skill, but because they lack the vehicle to get them the commissions they wanted. And as a result, they end up stuck and they end up getting capped at their current commissions. The same thing happened to me. I had an A+ skill set and an F opportunity. Because of that, I was only making like $3,000 a month. The second I switched to the A+ opportunity, I started instantly making $10,000 a month. I didn't get better at sales. All I did was apply my skills to the right vehicle. With the wrong offer, you won't just waste your time, you're gonna leave thousands of dollars on the table. And eventually you're gonna blend in with every other burnt out sales rep complaining about the offers that you continue to jump on. But I made sure not to go down that path. Instead, I focused on a few key actions that allowed me to start closing on the top offers in the space. Now, the number one thing here I did is I stopped chasing and I started positioning myself where the offers went to. Because if you think about it from this angle, offers want experienced closers who are gonna make them a bunch of money. Because the difference between a bad closer and a great closer is a great closer can bring you in over $200,000 in revenue a month. A bad closer will bring you in 20 to 30,000. So naturally, these people want to go and source out the best closers in the space. Usually this is not from people sliding into their DMs and going and applying on a random funnel. It's usually being sourced from training programs. I joined mastermind groups, I paid for training, I did whatever I possibly could to put myself in the rooms where the offers were hiring from. Because not only when you're trained at a high level do the best offers find you, when you're placed in groups where the best offers go to, you can naturally just apply straight to them. And it's just a win-win for everyone. Now you know the exact steps that sales reps use to consistently close over $50,000 a month. From mastering your numbers to eliminating objections before they even happen, to positioning yourself for elite offer placement and much more beyond that. Now it's on you to start applying it and scaling your results. But if you're serious about leveling up and you actually want to learn how to consistently close at a high level in high ticket sales, click the first link in the description to join hundreds of reps who are already transforming their game. Thanks for watching.